Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Pisces for January 2017. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see what's new on my blog. If you would love to study astrology with me, I am starting enrollment again in January for my astrology apprenticeship program, where we go in deep and have, quite an amazing journey into self and into helping others with this amazing art and science. And you can also check out my Creating Successful Online Business course, which is enrolling now as well. So what's going on this month in January, this new year in 2017 for Pisces? I'm calling the theme of this month for Pisces soul restoration. Now, how your soul is being restored is going to depend more on where your Pisces placements are. In the last month's reading, I didn't talk about the early, middle, and late degree placements because I had some requests from people to streamline and make the videos shorter and give more concise information. And so I'm very responsive to feedback, and so I shortened everything and tried to make it more concise. And then I had people say, we really want the meat back in to have it be longer. So I see we can't please everybody, but I am going to bring back some differentiation with the early, middle, and late degree placements because the teacher in me wants to do that anyway. So that's going to wind up being what prevails. So, depending on where your placements are, okay, we separate the month that Pisces, the sun is in Pisces, into thirds. So if you're born at the beginning, like the first 10 days of the sign, you're in an early degree placement. If you're in the middle 10 degrees, you're in middle degree. If you're in the last 10 degrees, you're in the last, or days, you're in the late degree placement. So whether you're watching for your rising sign or whether you're watching for your sun sign, these designations are going to be the same. So this way you can place yourself as I differentiate here. So soul restoration is our theme. All of the middle and late degree placements have a whopping massive amount of short and long-term energy in the 12th house. That is the house of the soul, the connectedness to the divine and the all that is in that quiet space. So even the early placements have some short-term energy still in that house. So what I'm about to say is going to be true for all the early, middle, and late degrees, but it's more intense for the middle and late degrees, okay? The 12th house is the house of sleep, of quiet, of rest. So when we have a focus on that in our lives, it could be that you're either sleeping great and you don't usually, or you were sleeping fine and now all of a sudden you're not, or it's been an ongoing issue that you've had with your sleep that isn't getting rectified. But whatever it winds up being for you, please know that sleep is probably one of the most important factors that you can focus on in your life. If you are trying to improve your health, if you are trying to heal, if you are trying to get more clear and step in this world in a more bold, powerful way that's in line with your highest expression, sleeping is actually one of the best things that you can do. And this is often the last thing that people focus on. Maybe everyone's got their purified water and they have their supplements and they're exercising and, all of those other things. But if you're not sleeping, you're not only not healing during the night when you're supposed to be, but you're also setting yourself back and often creating or exacerbating issues that you might not even have if you slept restoratively. There are a massive amount of people that have sleep apnea, and they don't fit the profile of what doctors used to think a typical sleep apnea patient would look like. So I urge you to be relentless with your pursuit to sleep well and to find answers as to why you're not sleeping well. So I'm going to give you an affirmation. And you can create your own around this, but quiet time, sleep time is in order at this time, okay? So you could say, I restore my soul with my commitment to sleeping well. I restore my soul with commitment to quiet time. And you can use this as a mantra. You can be looking on my new Instagram account. I'll be putting up pretty pictures with the affirmations that I recommend so that you can look at them more regularly and get them kind of into your being. I've worked with affirmations for a long time and I think that they're really incredible. So whatever you have to do to restore your sleep, whatever you have to do to restore your soul, this is what you want to do this month. The earlier degree placements are going to have an additional source of soul restoration, possibly come through connections to friends. Okay, because the Sun and Mercury for you early degree placements are lighting up your 11th house. And the 11th house has to do with groups, your place within the group, you're working with groups, an idea of a vision you have to teach a group or lead a group or be involved with groups. It can also includes social networks, online social connections, in-person social connections, acquaintances, friends. So there's a lot of vibrant energy here that really wants to feed you, you know, and it might turn out that at a networking meeting, you might find a perfect sleep doctor too. You know, that could be sometimes how these things work. For your middle and late degree placements, that Sun and Mercury are still in your 10th house. So that's bringing a lot of light and focus and energy to your work, your career, and your life purpose. Trying to figure out what you're doing here, how you can do it in a bigger way, or just for some, it could just be recognition or, you know, focus on your work, no matter what no matter what it's for. It's just an energy that brings vibrance. The Sun only goes through a house once a year. So you might notice that around the same time every year, you have certain things tend to happen or certain areas of focus tend to light up. That's because of the movement of the Sun coming and bringing warmth to these areas of your life. So you middle and late degree placements, you've got the Sun in your work sector at this point. You haven't had that for a year, you're not going to have that again for another year. So you can do whatever feels right to take advantage of that. So, these are the main themes that I have for the month of January for Pisces. A longer term theme. Now again, for earlier degree placements, let me look, this is for middle, yeah, for middle, early middle, but not quite late degree placements of Pisces. You'll have this coming, but not yet. Saturn has been moving through your 10th house. When we talk about monthly horoscopes, we talk about the planets that move more quickly because once a month passes, they're in a different place usually, and so the energy changes. But these long-term transits, these planets that take a really long time to move around, they're in a certain place in your chart for years, you know, and so they're working on something, they're activating a theme. Early and middle degree placements with this theme coming soon for late degree placements in the coming, not soon like months, but soon like, let's see, next year sometime. It depends on the degree of your late degree placement, but this is coming for you next year. Saturn wants to fine-tune your work sector, okay, because Saturn moving through the 10th can either bring lots of acknowledgement, lots of recognition, lots of people knowing you for your work, hard work you've done in the past, showing up. It could also bring challenges or tests to your current stability or work. It could be making you ask the question, do you want to continue on with this long-term venture of your work? Do you want to do something else? And many people actually change professions when Saturn goes into their 10th house. I can't tell you how many people I've seen. I've looked at thousands of charts and I've tracked this. It's very common when Saturn goes into someone's 10th house that there's something notable. Either they're acknowledged for things and they go deeper in their work, or they get into some trouble and they wind up having to go into different work, or their work starts to feel really heavy for them and they decide they want to do something different with their lives. So regardless of what those things, you know, how that manifests for you or is manifesting for you, Saturn wants discipline. And when Saturn is moving through the sign of Sagittarius, it wants to take those big dreams and bring them right into your reality. But you have to work hard for that, and you have to be disciplined to do that, and you have to attend to details. And we each have aspects of our being that are more well-defined than others. But when Saturn is moving through Sagittarius, for all of us, Saturn wants us to get on our game and get more organized and really pull through those things that we'd have to do every day to bring the bigger vision in. So if you're working on something involving your work and you've gotten really steadfast about it, this is probably why. And if you haven't, then the signs are probably all around saying, you have to do this. You know, maybe there's something that you know if you did it, it would work out really well. You just don't want to have the discipline. You know, it's like it's something that it takes a lot. It takes a lot of work and dedication, but you get to serve in a way that is so much greater and so much wider than you would have if you didn't get a system together. So the message is you have to get a system together, you know, and a lot of you are, I'm sure, are thinking, gosh, you know what some of those things are you really should be doing. So just start with those steps. And if you don't know, then get some help, you know, get some guidance with that, because Spirit really wants you to gather all that massive amount of emotional energy that you have and place it behind your vision. So these are the things that are specific for Pisces. Now I want to talk about what we're standing before as far as this abyss that I'll get more into, this retrograde abyss that we're standing before, and how you can understand that better and maximize the placements and the challenging dates in January, the good dates in January, etc. So I'm calling the month of January 2017. The theme for all signs is the edge of the abyss. We start out the month in the middle of the first of a series of personal planets being retrograde. Personal planets are the ones that are closest to us. So really the ones that are relevant here are Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Whenever one of those planets appears as if it's going backwards in the sky, of course they never really do go backwards in their orbit, but from our position on the Earth, if you were watching it in the sky, it would look like it was going backwards. That period of time, called a retrograde, lends itself into going backwards and going in deep. Some people have made the mistake of thinking you can't do anything during a retrograde cycle. That is totally not true, and I'm going to go into more details about that. But basically this energy of being on the edge of the abyss in this Mercury retrograde that is welcoming us as we start this new year. Then on January 8th, Mercury goes direct, and then at the end of January, the shadow period for Venus retrograde starts. Venus rules love and beauty and money. So the energies ruling, or the energies regarding those topics all tend to go backwards. But there's also a shadow period before the actual retrograde. So even though Venus is not retrograde until March 4th, and that's through April 15th, at the end of January, it's already warming up. You know, it's kind of like when you're on your way somewhere, maybe you're at a place not in the forest, okay, and you're driving and there are no trees around, then all of a sudden you start seeing a couple of trees here and there, and you know that when you go deeper, you're going to be covered with trees on both sides of the road, you know, but it's kind of like the trees are starting to show up, and you're getting that vibe of going into the woods. And that's what the retrograde is like, and that's what the shadow periods are like. So just as Mercury starts to be clear of its shadow period, Venus's shadow period starts. And then we get into full-on Venus retrograde. And then just as Venus goes direct in the middle of April, we start the shadow period for the next Mercury retrograde. And then it's not till May 19th that Venus is completely clear of its retrograde cycle. And it's not till May 21st that Mercury is completely clear of its retrograde cycle. So you can see why I call this time in January the edge of the abyss, and why, if you've listened to my horoscopes for a while, you can see why I was pushing you to push as many things forward into the world in the launch period, November through like December 3rd or so, because these energies want to go back and they want to go in. An analogy that I've been thinking of that really reminds me of the energy of what we're standing before. As I was stating earlier, it's a huge mistake to think you can't do anything in a retrograde. There is so much to do, there's plenty to do, and there are some things that it's actually good to do those things. You can get some specifics on Mercury retrograde by watching my video for that transit. You can also watch my video for Venus retrograde to get more details about specifics for that transit. I'll give some general retrograde energies here. But it's like if you want to clean out your kitchen, right? Maybe it's not too messy when you get in there, but when you start taking stuff out of the cabinets and spreading all the clean surfaces with the stuff from the cabinets in order to get everything out, throw stuff away, wipe the surfaces inside the cabinets, you create a righteous mess, right? In order to meet the objective, which is to have a truly clean kitchen that feels really good, getting rid of stagnant energy, clearing out things you don't need, making room for new. So although we're not starting this new year in an energy with a lot of newness coming in, we definitely have a major opportunity to go in deep and clear those things out. So I know for myself, I'm going to be very busy during these retrograde cycles, and I'm going to take everything in my house and all of my things out and clear them out. And by the time the energies go direct, I won't have complained because I didn't have any shortage of things to do during this retrograde cycle. It's just the new things, the launches. If there's something you've been doing all along, like for instance, I teach Creating Successful Online Business course, and I teach an Astrology Apprenticeship program. I've been teaching these for a while. So you'll see my launches come out in the midst of these retrograde energies, but they're not new and they're short-term programs. That's another thing to know about these new, the warnings to not do new things during the retrogrades. That's really a warning to not do long-term things. If you want to try something on or do a trial period or do something for a short amount of time that's not intended to have longevity, it's perfect. It's fine. You can play, you can experiment, etc. And it's a wonderful time to do that. You can have different experiences, and it's like a no commitment type of thing. If you go in thinking I'm going to be doing this for a certain number of years and it's going to be exactly how we're talking about right now, it's just not going to be that way. It's going to change and evolve, and that's the nature of the retrogrades. So, just keep that keynote of being on the edge of the abyss, keeping the understandings that things might have to get a little messier in your life before they can become clearer, but that this is really what's needed. It's really what's needed to get you closer to the things that you want to do, the experiences that you want to have. So, another good point about this retrograde cycle is to try to get your taxes done early. If you can submit them, like at the end of, I know you have to wait for some tax documents at the end of January, but as soon into February as possible, have all your ducks in a row, it's going to be much easier for you because April 15th is the tax day that everything is due, but that's the end of Venus retrograde, and money things are going to be, affected by this. So you might want to try to get that done. Something else really great about retrogrades is that when you are taking everything out to look at it again, you often find a lot of gems, things that you totally forgot about. If you're a writer, maybe if you're clearing out old files, you find some things that could be usable for a current project, or that you feel inspired to go back and start getting into again. This happens all the time. Either something that you find or something comes back to you through someone else mentioning it, or something floats in your field in some way from the past, then you get back on it and you bring it to a different level. It's like something coming back from the past that you work on. But you often will find a lot of gems, so contacting people from the past, going through things from the past, clearing out stuff is one of the best things you can do during retrogrades. And then you'll be in a much better position for launching when the stars are great again, which is like May 21st is really, there might be a couple of dates before then that could work, but that's the day that the Venus retrograde, the Mercury retrograde is clear. So you've got from May 21st through July 25th, free of personal planet retrogrades. And as we get closer to those days, I'll give you, challenging dates and good dates around in that time period. But I just want to give you an overview for the year so you have a snapshot of what we're looking at. Then we have another retrograde cycle between July 26th and October 6th, and then we're clear again from October 7th through November 5th. So essentially you've got 2 good launching periods this year. And then you might want to take advantage of that and line things up that way. So, let's see, I want to give you the good dates. I say good dates. These are dates that have sweet aspects that are occurring. And note that some of the dates I give you that could carry sweetness are also some of the same dates that could bring challenges or drama. Because on some days we have certain really good aspects and certain challenging aspects at the same time. I'm going to give you the dates, but note that sometimes we feel the energy of a transit before or after the day it actually occurs. So sometimes the exact date isn't as relevant as the time period. I'm not going to list all of why these dates carry sweetness or challenges. You can see more details about that when you sign up for my free email newsletter, which is in on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. I do a write-up for the month before that gives the theme of the month, themes, keynotes, sweet days, challenging days, as well as the actual aspects that make those sweet or challenging, with a little bit of explanation as to why and what's happening there. So you can get that for free on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Okay, so you might find sweetness on or around January 3rd, January 6th and 7th, January 20th, 23rd, 28th, and 29th. Put a big star around January 29th because, or rather January 28th, because this is the Chinese New Year and the new moon in Aquarius. So if you have to push something through that you could not push through in my suggested time frame that ran until December 3rd, then this might be a date that could work for you, because it's dancing right between some challenging aspects, but it has a lot of good energy for forward momentum. So if you have to push something through or do a follow-up for something that you had already started, that could be a date that you could slip in. Really, the end of January and the beginning of February, if you have anything that you're going to have to push through that you didn't do in the window through the beginning of December, that's going to be your best time, because you're only going to get deeper into the Venus retrograde as you get deeper into February. So it's going to be pretty retrograde-y until May after that. But it will still have effects because it's right in the middle of all this, but it's your best bet if you have to do something. So the dates to have extra care or where there might be challenges or drama are January 5th through 12th, the 19th, the 27th through the 29th, and the 31st. Okay, so definitely check out my blogs, my new moon, making powerful wishes for each of the new moons on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. You can also check out my courses, my coach certification course, my creating successful online business course, and my astrology apprenticeship program. My astrology apprenticeship program and my creating successful online business courses will be re-enrolling. They have been closed for enrollment. They will be re-enrolling in January. So you can check that out, and maybe you'll want to join me to do these professional certification courses. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I will see you next month.